What's going on, guys? Joe R, Vintage Pokemon, and welcome to an episode of Pokemon History, where we're going to start this first ever episode with one of the most vintage, nostalgic, and earliest Japanese Pokemon card releases, the Japanese Ivy Pikachu. So stick around, because we're going to do a deep dive on this card and its history. Welcome back, guys, to our first Pokemon history video featuring the Japanese Ivy Pikachu card. And we're going to start by taking a look at all three of these cards and talking about their history, along with a couple cards that actually aren't shown here on camera today. But we're going to start with this guy here on the left. This is the Japanese Ivy Pikachu, and he is a beautiful first card to be released for the TCG. This card was first released in Japan October 15th, 1996 on a 2-card insert alongside Jigglypuff. You can see Jigglypuff there in the background. This card was released for the November issue of CoroCoro Comics, and this print in particular is on a glossy cardstock. So for those of you that are Americans or perhaps from another part of the country, there are a lot of cards that were released in Japan that were printed on a glossy cardstock in CoroCoro Comics, and this would be one of them. You could see that this card has some serious shine to it. It doesn't really have a matte finish. Instead, this is what they would call a glossy finish. And we can see this is definitely an old bat card from 1996. So a lot of history in this card, and tough to find in a really good condition these days too. So this card actually also has the incorrect illustrator on it. You can see there, bottom left-hand corner, it has the illustrator Ken Sugimori, really well-known illustrator for the Pokemon TCG, but it's the wrong one for this card. The correct illustrator is actually Kenji Kinabuchi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he unfortunately didn't get on this card just yet. In future releases, he is going to be printed on the card correctly. As a matter of fact, that leads us into the second printing for this card, which is the corrected version. In 1998, this same card was reprinted with the correct illustrator, Kenji Kinabuchi, on a glossy cardstock again, and you can see that's what it means to be glossy right there. The corrected card was advertised in a 1998 copy of CoroCoro Comics, and it was considered a lottery drawing card because a lot of people requested it. As a matter of fact, there was only 2,000 sets of the corrected illustrator card sent out to people that entered the lottery. And it wasn't the only thing that was actually advertised. It was actually advertised alongside, of course, Jigglypuff, which came on the sheet with the Pikachu, and a Meowth and an Onix as well. But the Pikachu is the one that's the big difference maker because it is the corrected version, and there's only 2,000 copies that apparently exist of that card. So it's a very rare commodity indeed. Besides that, there is another release of this card that is considered a test print or prototype. Very, very rare, but basically identical to the corrected version. It again says the correct illustrator for the prototype, but the artwork is shifted very slightly over to the right-hand side. And until recently, I wasn't really sure if there were any graded copies that existed, but I did recently set eyes upon one. So those are the first 3 printings of the Japanese Ivy Pikachu. And we're going to roll on into the second copy to be printed of the Japanese Ivy Pikachu as soon as I get this guy back into his sleeve and back on display behind us. All right, so next up, we have the 1996 non-glossy version of the Japanese Ivy Pikachu. And you can see here, we're going to see an immediate difference when I pull this card out. This is on regular cardstock, and we're going to pull him out of our sleeve just like that. And right away you can tell there is not nearly as much gloss on this card. This card has regular cardstock printing, and it has the correct illustrator. So big difference between this and the last cards that we looked at. Correct illustrator and also on non-glossy cardstock. And besides that, this card was released in the magazine as an insert, How to Play Pokemon Cards, that you can easily understand, on November 30th, 1996. in Asobakata Volume 1. And it was more notably inside of a gold gift box, which is very, very difficult to find sealed still these days. I mean, anything from 1996, when Pokemon was first coming out, people were buying and they were opening. There wasn't a lot of stuff that was being kept sealed per se. And of course, this copy was also released alongside with good old Jigglypuff in the back corner over here. We can pull him down. These two Jigglypuffs, by the way, are also on glossy cardstock for the first one, released in CoroCoro Comics 1996, and non-glossy cardstock for the one that was released alongside the non-glossy Pikachu. And we're going to put him back right there for us. Almost dropped the Golduck, but we managed to keep him up there for us. So let's get him put back, and we're going to move on to our final and third Japanese Ivy Pikachu. So our final card today is the Gray Star promo Pikachu, and it's called a Gray Star for a reason. That's this card right here. It has instead of Black Star, like the English #1 Black Star promo Pikachu card, it's got a Gray Star, and this is still a Japanese Ivy Pikachu. Yeah, even though it's English, it's still Japanese, which is why it's part of this history video that we're going to be taking a look at, and it's got a couple other things going for it that are really interesting. This card, one dead giveaway that it is Japanese, is the fact that it's actually a glossy card, and not many English cards got this treatment. Beautiful card on glossy cardstock. You turn it around, it's got the English back, but again, you can tell it's not really a matte finish. It's a very glossy finish because it's got that glossy cardstock going for it. And so this card was released in 1999 as an English version, printed on the glossy cardstock as part of a 2-card insert once again with good old Jigglypuff. And it was released on March 1st, 1999 in an issue of Hyper CoroCoro Comics. This card features a Gray Star symbol with a yellow promo on it, just like the regular Black Star promo counterparts. So you can see there, this is not as deep a Black Star as it normally would be, and it's got the yellow inside highlights on the word promo there. And it is a Japanese Pokemon card, even though it is printed in English. And there are a couple other examples of this being done in the early TCG, but this is the final one for our lineup of Japanese Ivy Pikachus. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little history on the Japanese Ivy Pikachu. We talked about 5 different versions, and I was able to show you exactly 3 of them, alongside with its partner in crime over here, good old Jigglypuff. You can see there we have the Gray Star promo for the Jigglypuff, again on glossy cardstock, just like its partner Pikachu here. And basically whatever the Pikachu treatment was, the Jigglypuff got the same treatment because they were released in tandem basically every single time in Japan. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more Pokemon history videos because you know I'd love to talk about them. And we'll see you guys next time through.